Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today on this Vuforia webinar. Right. My name is Oscar Salas, and I'm an implementation consultant for TriStar. The goal of this webinar is to show you guys the different applications that Vuforia has, right, and be able to clarify a little bit what would be the use case for each one of those, right? Sometimes it might be a little bit confusing to really know exactly, should I use a Vuforia Studio, or is Expert Capture a better tool for my use case, right? Things like that. So that's something that I will try to do today, clarify those things. Also, a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions, please type them in the questions box, right? Towards the end, I will take time and answer any questions that come in. So anything, feel free to just drop those questions in those in that area. Also, there's a handout that we put for you guys that you can download, and it's a buyer's guide for industrial augmented reality. Okay, so that's a pretty useful PDF that we put there for you guys, so you can get it. And then in the chat window, there are a couple links. One is going to give you a trial for Vuforia Chalk, and the other one is for the Vuforia Studio trial. Okay, those are the only two apps that PTC offers trials on. So the links are there as well. Okay, so just so you know, those are the items. Now, before we get started, for those of you who don't know who we are, right? So TriStar's been in business for over 25 years. We do a lot of work around PLM. Right, we have a lot of customers. We turn in quite a bit of projects, right, that really help our customers take full advantage of their Windchill, right? We do the PLM implementations, how to connect Windchill to the ERP system. So we do a lot of that, right? Working with WT parts and really going to a part-centric approach. So those are things that we do around PLM, and of course we do work with Creo and the other apps such as Vuforia. So that's what we do. We've been a PTC value-added reseller since 1998. And also, a lot of our leadership people are coming directly from PTC, so that's another good thing for us here at TriStar. So for today, pretty much this is what I would like to cover, right? So we'll take a look at the overview of the Vuforia suite, right? What Vuforia has to offer, and then we'll look at each individual app, and we'll look at a brief description of each one, and maybe some videos that will illustrate what each one of those will do for you. Again, there's a lot more information for each one, but right now we just want to kind of give you guys an overview of each one and see what would be a better fit for you. Also, towards the end, we'll have a a comparison matrix where we can see what the key differences between the different tools are. And then again, towards the end, I'll take some time to answer any of your questions. So let's get started. So Vuforia, the actual portfolio or the suite has 4 different components, right? So the first one's going to be Expert Capture. Expert Capture is a fast and easy way to capture and share expert knowledge, right? Then we have Studio, which is a very efficient way to author and publish scalable AR for the enterprise. We have Vuforia Chalk, which is the most accessible real-time remote expert guidance app. And then we have Vuforia Engine, which is the most widely used computer vision software for custom AR apps. Okay, so those are the 4 that we're going to take a look at it, and we'll start with Vuforia Studio, right? So what are the main capabilities of Vuforia Studio? So it's a visual authoring environment, right? So you get an interface that's going to give you that authoring environment. It's going to give you the flexibility to easily import your CAD, so you can leverage your CAD data as well as any animated sequences. It's going to scale to support global AR deployments. Also, it has native support for IoT data. So if you're using any any type of IoT data, you can just bring it in and you can use it in your AR experiences from here. Also, there's certified support for hosting on-premise and on-cloud deployments. Also, it's got a powerful spatial and model tracking, and then out-of-the-box support for mobile and head-worn devices such as Microsoft HoloLens and HoloLens 2. So what are the kind of the best uses for Vuforia Studio? Well, this is when you want to do a 3D digital overlay um, of the real world, right? Using that augmented reality on the real world. It gives you rapid deployment, especially around training and instruction, right? So you can develop work instructions to show someone how to do maintenance on one of your machines, as an example, right? Again, the ability for you to leverage your existing CAD models as well as your sequences, right? The animations that you can create by using your CAD, you can use those inside Vuforia Studio. So this is, again, this is a great tool. Even if you have, your Creo assembly, inside your Creo assembly, you have maybe mechanisms that you run, some mechanism analysis and things like that. You can leverage those inside Vuforia Studio as well. Also, you can visualize real-time IoT data to provide operating conditions and equipment performance, right? So you can be, let's say there's a maintenance engineer, right, walking the production floor, and he could be wearing this HoloLens, and as he looks at one of the machines, he can see that maybe that machine already needs maintenance because of the IoT data that is getting populated from directly from ThingWorx. Also, full-scale visualizations that is going to enable you to walk around and see inside the products, accurate identification of spare parts, and then scaling across products, configurations, devices, and geographies, right? So how does Vuforia Studio works, right? So you have the Vuforia Studio app, right, where it's just a simple interface where it's almost like dragging and dropping, right? So now I got my 3D model in here. So now I'm going to put a target on that model so that when when I scan it by using my Vuforia View app, it's going to load the model is going to load that experience onto my device, whether it's again something that you're wearing, or it could be your phone or your tablet, right? Now, as far as authoring and publishing the content, well, it could be on premise, so you can host your own server. It could be on the cloud as well, right? So once it's on a server, whether it's on premise or on the cloud, now you're going to be able to share those experiences. Now let's take a look at a couple of videos here on how Vuforia is gonna work, right? So let's go ahead and see how Vuforia Studio is going to work. So the first thing on here, this one is for maintenance, right? They're going to develop the instructions to do maintenance. So the first thing is we bring a model target, and then we go browse for the CAD data, right, that we want to bring in. So now that we have the CAD data, also Vuforia Studio has the ability to optimize those models for you. Okay, so that's something that's possible to do as well, so that they're not, they're not pretty heavy. They're lighter models than the ones that you usually use, for example, in Creo. Then you start adding your targets. You start adding your, in this case, some gauges that are going to be on there. So how it's going to be loaded. You do your binding. So what happens if I click on a button, right? For example. So those are the things that you can do. So this is how you create the experience. Now the next thing is, so how do you consume that experience, right? So now let's see if we were, that maintenance person that is following the instructions. The first thing is we need to scan. In this case, it's going to be a barcode. Now you can see that overlay, and now we need to bring it into the physical model. And as soon as we bring it into the physical model, our AR experience is going to kick in, right? And now notice how we got those gauges. Again, this could be IoT data that is getting populated in real time, right? Maybe some safety procedures that need to be followed on here. Those are going to get loaded as well. And again, any warnings, any of that, right? So in this case, it's telling the person is there's some service required, right? Do you want to continue, right? And now you can start choosing from different menus, And so it's going to say, yeah, I want to continue with that. And you have, in this case, they have to confirm if they're certified to provide maintenance on that. So now it's giving them the required tools, and then it's pointing them to the point of interest right there, right? So now it's telling them, hey, you first got to remove that piece, right? You got to bring it onto the fixture. So it's going to walk them step by step on what they're supposed to do. So now you're supposed to unscrew those two pieces, right? Or the plate that's on there, right? So now it's again giving them the step-by-step instructions. And like I said, this could be a wearable device, right? That Microsoft HoloLens, that they're following this procedure, and that their hands are completely free at the same time. So now in this case, again, just giving the step-by-step instruction. Notice how there are some menus over here. There's like a replay, so they can replay any steps, right? It's giving them the instruction over here. So step 10 out of 15, what they're supposed to do. So that's how you consume those experiences, at least in this use case, right? That's pretty specific for kind of a maintenance procedure that we're following. So now we got to put it back together. Once we put it back together, you screw it again. Now it's giving you information on the torque, and once it's put all together, now it's got to be placed on the machine, right? So that would be the last one of the last steps that we go on here. Once it's replaced, then the process continues, right? So that's going to be Studio, right? And that those are some of the capabilities for Studio. We'll take a look a little bit more on the use cases, right? Or more use cases than just maintenance on this one. The next thing is Engine. Now, Engine is a robust computer vision, allows experiences from the different types of targets. So Studio, you can do thing marks, you can do barcodes, you can do model targets. However, Engine does give you the ability to use more targets, such as objects, models, images, surfaces. You can do multi-targets, you can do cylinders, and also customized targets that are called VU marks. This one is a cross-platform development that supports Android AR Core and iOS ARKit. Vuforia Fusion is going to enable easy optimization of AR experiences across a range of devices. It's got a seamless integration with industry-leading complementary design and modeling applications, and there's a really large community of developers and agencies with really a lot of experience on Vuforia Engine. What would be the best use for Vuforia Engine, right? In this case, it's going to be more on high-end production of white labeled and custom AR applications. You're going to be able to develop customer-facing applications that require superior production values, integration with industry-leading design and modeling applications, experiences that require sophisticated and flexible target recognition. Again, that's when it's going to be a critical differentiator from other ones, right? That you get a lot of flexibility when it comes to targets, elevating brands with complementary apps, and also direct consumer revenue models. So how do you use Vuforia Engine? So this one, it's almost like like another layer that you would use into development environments such as Unity, Android Studio, Xcode, or Visual Studio, right? That's where Vuforia Engine comes in, and Vuforia Engine is the one that is going to enable those AR capabilities for your applications, right? Once the application is developed, now it would be time to deploy it, and you can deploy it on one of the stores like Google Play or the Apple App Store, but also you can just use it for internal apps, right? Internal applications that you would use in your company. After that, then you deliver that custom branded experience. When it comes to the targets, and I've been talking about the targets, so that's kind of how you load those experiences. So Vuforia Engine has the ability to use what we call VU marks. which again, this is kind of like a custom ID that you can create, and once that VU mark is scanned, then your experience is going to be loaded. Image target, right? So you can do it on like catalogs, magazines, or posters, right? So as soon as it identifies a specific image, then it's gonna load the experience at that point. Multi-targets. In this case, they're showing like a cereal box, where it's got some flat surfaces, but it's got multiple sides, and I want to be able to load an experience on multiple sides of that box. Then the multi-target is a good use for that one. Cylinder targets. Think of a soda can, right? So now you can do an experience by scanning that cylindrical shape of the soda can. Object target, great for like toys, right? Something that's a little more rigid. And then also we have area targets for large indoor spaces like factories or malls, right? So those are some of the targets that you can use. Now, to better explain this, let's take a look at a few animations here that will allow us to understand better those uses. So for an area target is more of how do I use like a manufacturing floor, for example, right? Also another use that I can think for this one would be, I don't know if you guys gone to like a brewery tour, and there's someone walking you through that tour. Now this could be done through an AR experience, and if I play this video, notice how there's a a digital assistant that's coming up, and it's giving you some choices, right? Like, for example, where do you want to go? And you say, well, I want to go to the kitchen. Now it's going to tell you, hey, follow me. So now, as you're either wearing a device or you're using your phone or your tablet, now you're following that digital assistant, right? And it's taking you to your destination, right? So that would be a use for an area target. The next type of target is an image, right? And this one, notice how we have a magazine right here. And as we create and develop these apps, right, as soon as my application scans the image that was already predefined, is going to load that experience on me, right? And again, very, very simple, very straightforward. The next one is going to be multi-target. So in this case, we can see this box. Again, we got several sites on that box, and we can leverage all those sites that we're scanning, and we can load those experiences. Like in this case, would be good for like printed media, product packaging, also for gaming, right? Those are some of the uses for the multi-target. Cylinder targets, so you can scan a cylindrical shape, and you can also use this, the top and the bottom surfaces of this cylindrical shape. Those surfaces can also be leveraged, right? And again, as you scan that shape, it'll load that experience for you. Can soda cans, mugs, beverage bottles, or anything that's like cylindrical machine parts could be used as well. Object targets. So for this one, we got different targets like toys, right? This would be a perfect example for a toy. So now maybe you're playing with Legos. You put together whatever the Lego is. Once it's put together, then you can get the app and load it, and you can load an experience with the Lego that you just built, right? That would be another example for an object target. Then we have the model target. And again, this is where you can leverage 3D models, right? And then they can be scaled as well. So in this case here, notice how I was looking for a specific object, and as soon as it scans it, now it loads that experience for you. So it's again simple and straightforward as well. So again, just to remind you, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the questions box. So now we're going to talk a little bit about Vuforia Chalk. This one, it's a very straightforward app, right? It requires zero development requirements. They can, you can get multiple users licensed, but also it's defined more to provide support, like over-the-shoulder support. So you have an expert that might be, somewhere in the office, and you got an engineer that's on the field, maybe trying to, install a machine, and he needs some help, right? So instead of you trying to walk them over the phone, what you can do is use Vuforia Chalk, right? Now you have a communication where you have videos, you have the ability to create annotations on there, and these 3D annotations are anchored to the physical objects. So as the person moves around, he can always come back and see the annotations that were created. So this one is going to be better built for remote virtual assistance between technicians and experts, collaboration between physically dispersed colleagues and teams, and then building lightweight AR pilots that prove value fast without deployment resources. Right. So this is fairly simple. So what this one's going to do, again, usually what happens is that there's an identification of a worker skill gap, right? So we got new people coming into the workforce that are fairly new. They don't have a whole lot of experience, and then we have the older people in the company that have a lot of knowledge, but maybe it might be hard for them to now start working on those remote places and providing the support to the customers. So again, sometimes it could be either the product is complex, or maybe the workspaces that we need to deal with are pretty complex as well, right? So also customers are more and more demanding a faster and more effective service capabilities from us, right? So that's when Vuforia Talk can be pretty helpful. So again, this one, as I'm going to play this video here, right? And it's almost like doing a video call, right? So once that connection gets made, what's going to happen is the first thing the person has to do a scan of the 3D area that you're going to work on, and the Vuforia Chalk will create a mapping of that area. And the reason why we do this is because now we're going to be able to create annotations. So in this case, the expert is creating the annotations and showing maybe the engineer who's supposed to provide the maintenance on this machine, showing him what he's supposed to do, right, with these annotations as well, right? Or maybe asking questions. Hey, so what can you show me this over here? Now, hey, you know what? Move over to this side and kind of point it to this area. I want to see that. Okay, so you got to turn that knob, and so you can create those annotations, but also notice how it's got those arrows on the left. Now that what that's saying is there are already annotations that were created, and it'll keep those annotations, as well as at the end it'll create a session summary, and it'll have images with the annotations, and these can be later leveraged for maybe work instructions that can be developed, right? So these session summaries are going to be pretty useful. Again, it just creates snapshots of the of those calls that were created, and then it'll provide it at the end. And again, it'll be there on the web interface so that you can download them and you can use them in, again, maybe a work instruction. And the last one that we're going to see is going to be expert capture, right? So this one is going to give you the ability to rapidly author AR instructions without CAD. Okay, so that's the key difference on this one. You don't really need any CAD data, any pre-existing assets, or any type of development efforts, right? You can use templates that are going to simplify and accelerate the creation and the publishing of the content. Also, you're going to be able to edit and publish content simplified and secured in a web-based environment. Now, workers are going to benefit from easy, consumable, on-the-job guidance, right? Also, deliver automatically optimized content across multiple supported devices. And then this one is going to be best for capturing procedures and tasks from the perspective of senior experts. I don't know if you guys have run into this, but I've seen this in many companies where there's usually one or two guys that know how to do a lot of things, right? And they know how to do it, but they're not really good at showing other people how to do things. So every time, let's say, a machine goes down, you got to find this person, and then he'll go there and he'll fix it, right? And he'll get the job done. But what's going to happen when that person retires, right? No one else knows how to do the job. So that's when this is going to be pretty helpful in those cases, right? Servicing and working with factory floor machines that are going to be lacking relevant CAD data, or also there's no documentation, or the documentation that we have has really poor quality. Also documenting multi-step procedures that are going to take in place in multiple locations within a space, and also ensuring compliance through documentation of standard operating procedures. Right, so expert capture, it's actually pretty easy to create the content. So the first thing you want to do is capture the expertise, right? So in this case, it's pretty simple to capture that expertise, because we're going to use a wearable device such as a HoloLens, and everything that this person is going through, right? Now it's going to start getting recorded. Now you can enhance the expertise, so you also have editing tools that will allow you to, now that you have this recording, maybe you want to break it down in different steps, right? So you can do that, right? And the next thing is to scale the expertise. So at that point, now you can give your workers the essential instructions that are given to them with a dynamic content, and it's pretty easy to consume. So let's take a look at how can you leverage Vuforia Expert Capture for this. In this case, they're using the Microsoft HoloLens to create this this instruction, right? How do we put together this machine as an example, right? And as this person is going through, notice how it's wearing the hard hat with the HoloLens, and it's recording all the steps, right? And on here, this could do voice recognition, where I can just say, go to the next step. Also, you can take photos by using voice commands, and you can also add bookmarks, right? So now he's doing step number 2, and then at any point here, he can say next step. And then, in this case, it took a photo, and then now it's going to the next step. And notice how at the top, it's going to say recording step number 3. So now it starts doing that that recording of step number 3. So it's pretty easy to capture that knowledge by using expert capture, right? So again, next, step number 4, and the benefit of this, again, once you have this data, you can also edit that data. Okay, so that's the nice thing about this, that you can make it more user friendly for someone who's going to be consuming this data. Again, guys, if you have any questions, just feel free to drop them in the questions box. Again, we'll just let this video run a little bit. So now he's recording step number 9. And that's how you create the capture. Now, as far as the one of the benefits of this, it's called publish once and then view across multiple platforms. So you can view or you can consume this through HoloLens, RealWear, phones and tablets, and also desktops and laptops. Okay, so those are again, once you have the experience published, then it can be consumed across multiple devices. That's another nice thing. Now, as far as the comparisons, right? So what would be use cases? For example, if I'm doing step-by-step work instructions, this is probably a good use either for Vuforia Studio or Expert Capture. You could also use Engine, but Engine is probably not the best fit. If you need remote assistance and collaboration, this is Vuforia Chalk. What you would want to use. Onboarding and training, you can see that pretty much all of them are going to help you with this, right? So you got Studio, Engine, and Expert Capture that will give you that ability, but also you can do Chalk, right? Because you're providing that over-the-shoulder support for someone who's on the field. Product demos and visualization for this one, definitely you go to Studio or Engine. Also for branded product and customer experience, this would be more of a use case for Vuforia Engine. Right? Who are your users, right? If it's internal employees, well, most likely any of these apps are going to be good. But it's external or it's customers or partners that you're dealing with, probably you want to go with Engine, but also Vuforia Studio could be used for that as well. Now, how much expertise do you need for the development of this? So it's for Studio, it's really minimal. There's really low coding that's required. You can also create custom experiences in Studio, but if it's if you really need to create custom experiences, then you go with Engine, and then you don't really need any type of expertise when it comes to Vuforia Talk or Vuforia Expert Capture. Those are pretty straightforward. Also, depending on the updates, right? Are you working on an app that's getting continuously updated? Well, probably Studio would be the best and easier way for you to do that. Engine would also be a good use for it, but Studio would be the best one. Now, custom branded app, that's definitely for Engine, but also if you want to do a secure enterprise viewer app, you can either go with Studio or Chalk on this one. If you don't have any pre-existing assets, in this case, it's going to be Chalk or Expert Capture, the ones that you want. But if you already have existing assets such as 3D CAD, in this case, it's going to be Studio or Engine. 3D animated sequences, again, Studio or Engine. If you got videos, photos, or 2D PDFs or digital documents, you can either use Studio, Engine, or Expert Capture for those as well. For IoT data integration, for ThingWorx integration, in this case, Studio and Engine are the ones that are going to help you or are going to support the ability for you to bring in that data. Third-party development tools, that's going to be Vuforia Engine. Now, when it comes to targets and tracking methodology, so as you can see for Studio, you can do model, image targets, and as well as marker-based tracking. All the other ones are pretty much so model targets, image targets, multi-targets, cylinder, object, and marker-based tracking are all going to be supported by Vuforia Chalk. And then the automated environment learning, sorry, the other one was Engine. For automated environment learning, it's going to be Chalk. The hardware that's supported, so phones, tablets, and digital eyewear, you can see that pretty much all these are supported except Chalk only supports phones and tablets. Also, your desktop, okay? Your computer can be used for Vuforia Chalk. For platform support, so most of them are supported on Android, iOS, AR Core, ARKit, and as well as Windows. Even though Vuforia Chalk doesn't say Windows on here, again, you can use Vuforia Chalk on your desktop. And then for hosting, all of them are supported on the cloud. For on-premise, you only have Studio and Engine that can be supported. Okay. So I'm going to check if there are any questions right now, guys. I don't see any questions, but if you if you have any questions, if there's anything we can help you guys with, feel free to contact us. Okay, go to our webpage, TriStar.com. You can always go to the contact tab, and then it's going to allow you to fill out and send us your questions there. We're going to be able to help you guys out with that. There's our phone number as well, and again, it doesn't seem like you guys have any questions at this point. Don't forget, there's a handout, and there are the two different links that we have there for you to get the free trial for Studio and for Vuforia Chalk. And I just want to thank you guys for your time today, and I hope this has been a helpful session. Once again, if you have any questions or any comments that you want to bring to us, feel free to send them over through our webpage. If again, if there are no questions, thanks so much and have a good rest of your day.